Good morning, everyone. It is 9 o'clock, so we are going to get started. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Sam Adams Lanham. I am the Community Engagement Librarian at the Barrington Area Library, which means that I present programs for the benefit of and alongside nonprofits in our local community, such as the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area. A few things that I need to tell you for today's program. This program is being recorded. So we ask that you remain muted. Chat is turned off. The recording should only show the people who are highlighted on the screen. However, if you want to be absolutely certain that your face does not appear on a recording, I'd suggest turning your device's camera off. The recordings will be posted on the library's YouTube channel and shared with the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area as quickly as I can do so without compromising my bandwidth for the next forum. And for your information, the next forum that we have today is for the Barrington Hills trustee positions. So if any of you are interested in also viewing that, you can join us at 10:30 using the same link that you did for this program. With that, I am going to ask our audience to take a brief poll and let us know how you heard about today's forum. It's useful for the League to make sure that they're doing the best they can in getting the word out to people. So if I could have the folks who are in the audience answer the poll that I've put up there. There are 10 options, including other. I should say too, it is multiple choice. So if you heard about it more than one way, you can add that as well. And I think that is everyone who is part of the audience. So I will end polling and I am going to share this briefly so we can have a look at it. It looks like primarily League of Women Voters website or newsletter, library newsletter, other, newspaper and social media. So thank you all very much for taking part in that. And with that, I am, you know what, did that end sharing? I think I may have. Can I get a nod or a shake? Do you still see the poll up there? Okay. No, okay, good. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Kathy Cortez, who is our League of Women Voters, my League of Women Voters partner.
Good morning, and thank you for attending today's candidate forum featuring the candidates running for village president of the Village of Barrington. My name is Kathy Cortez, and I'm the candidate forum coordinator for the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area, which serves not only Palatine, but several contiguous communities with whom we share legislative districts. Founded in 1920, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that neither supports, opposes, nor recommends candidates for office. The League was founded here in Chicago in 1920 in order to help educate and inform new female voters who had just won the right to vote. The League's purpose is to promote responsibility through the informed and active participation of all citizens. Providing this forum enables members of the community to become better informed about the issues facing the community and the candidates running for office. We're pleased to offer this service to you. We would like to extend our sincerest thanks to Sam Adams Lanham, the Community Engagement Librarian from the Barrington Area Library, whose help and technology has made today's forum possible. Sam is our co-host today, and she'll be operating the webinar. During today's presentation, all audience members will be muted. We will not be using chat or raised hands featured. All questions for the candidates were submitted in advance by either the audience or by local nonpartisan organizations. I'm pleased to introduce today's moderator, Cate Williams. She's been a member of the League of Women Voters for the past 8 years. She's a past secretary of the League of Women Voters of Illinois and currently serves as president of the McHenry County League. Educating voters is part of the work Cate does every day. Having been trained as a moderator by the Illinois League of Women Voters, Cate has moderated many forums. Cate?
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you this morning to moderate this important forum. I'm a resident of the Crystal Lake area, so I'm not eligible to vote in this election. So that helps me be very, very impartial. And so let me take a couple of minutes to explain the format and the rules of the forum. The candidates were contacted by mail, email, or by the phone, and they've agreed to abide by the rules provided by the League of Women Voters. And those rules are, they've drawn numbers to determine the speaking order, and then we'll rotate throughout the order of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement. And then once we start the questions, that's a 1 minute. And I'll certainly repeat the question if necessary. We do include rebuttals. And should you have a rebuttal, and you're only allowed 2, you then can raise your hand and you've got a 30-second rebuttal. But usually in a 2-person race, it's not as important, but you do have those. So let me know by raising your hand. And then I'm delighted to have Jackie McGrath handling the paddles over there. So Jackie, do you want to share how you shuffle those paddles around?
Okay, so we had a little bit of a rehearsal and some of our candidates weren't able to attend. So what I will be doing once the questioning has been given to our candidates, I will put up the appropriate stop sign. And our opening statement, you have 2 minutes. So at the end of 1 minute, you'll see the 1 minute stop sign go up, and then 30 seconds, and then of course, stop. The questioning period that you have to answer is only 1 minute. So at the end of 30 seconds, I will give you a 30-second warning, and then I will put up the stop sign then. If there is a rebuttal, you're only given 30 seconds for your rebuttal. So all you will see come up on your screen then is a stop sign at the end of those 30 seconds. Remember that you can complete your thought and your sentence and before we go on to the next candidate answer and response. So are there any questions about the timing?
No.
Okay,
great. Thank you, Jackie. Please know that the questions had been submitted by audience members and various civic organizations. We've also gone through and edited them for clarity and appropriateness, and also to avoid duplication. And we ask you not to interrupt each other. Again, it is being taped by the League of Women Voters and the Barrington Library, and Sam covered that. We don't have any campaign buttons or any partisan material on the screen. And the League of Women Voters of Palatine does claim the copyright on this recording. So we have 2 candidates for 1 seat as president of the Village of Barrington Hills, Brian Saccola and Dennis Kelly. So I want to thank you for your participation. And I think it's so important. This is a great opportunity for you to just talk to the voters of Barrington Hills. And so now let's go ahead and start. Brian, you started, and you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Great, Cate, thank you very much, and everybody for hosting this. And it's Brian Saccola. Just want to correct the name, not Ciola, so it's Brian Saccola. But I want to thank the League of Women Voters and all the participants here for giving your time also on doing this. Yes, so my name is Brian Saccola. I am candidate. I am running for Barrington Hills Village President. I've been a 54-year resident in this community. My motto has been, I serve. I've been a Barrington Lions Club member for over 20 years. I've been on the board of that for over 15 years. I was a volunteer firefighter. I was on that board of directors. So that's what my motto is, serve. I've run a charitable event in Barrington for 24 years. The Barrington 4th of July. Again, my motto is I serve. When I decided to run for president, I was actually sitting down. I was asked by President Martin McLaughlin about running for this candidacy. I took a lot of thought, went home to my family, talked to my family about it. First thing my kids said is, Dad, you serve. You are the guy for this job. You have served our community as long as they've been born, as long as I've been around here. I'm just a guy that serves. I've been a current trustee for 6 years. I've been in charge of our road and bridges and our public safety, which makes up 2/3 of our budget. I've caught up on our road program. This year, we're only going to be paving roughly 3 miles of roadway, which we started at 4 miles to catch up. We're going to rejuvenate all of our roadways, which has never been done, to preserve the life of our road program for the next 5 to 8 years, again, to save taxpayers money. I love the path that this village has taken on the last 8 years. I'm so proud to be a part of that for the last 6 years, including lowering our levy for the past 6 years. So again, I enjoy serving. I enjoy our community. I enjoy talking to our residents. As you can kind of see, I'm a doer, not much of a good talker, but I definitely am a doer. But I love this town. I give back 100%, and I would love to serve, and I would love to be honored to serve our residents as village president.
Thank you. Dennis?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Kelly, and I'm also running for the president of the Village of Barrington Hills. One of the key, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and look forward to the questions that are presented. One of the key issues for leadership is the ability to listen. And I've learned over the last 40 plus years as an insurance broker, listening to my clients and finding out what they need and working with them to develop comprehensive insurance programs. I've also been elected commissioner for the Barrington Hills Park District for the past 8 years and president for the past 4. Here again, we've listened to our residents and have been able to make improvements within our village for our park district. Lastly, I've been a member of the board of directors for the Barrington Area Chamber of Commerce and been on the executive board for the past 5 years and chairman for the term of 2019 and 20. These have given me the experience and leadership abilities to make sure that we listen to the residents. By listening, we can help develop what they want, not what the government thinks they don't want. Also, transparency is very important within the goals of a government. We want transparency and participation by the residents so that the decisions that are made for the residents and their needs. I'd hope that I could gain your vote and look forward to the questions presented in this next hour. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, we'll get started with the questions. How will you make yourself accessible to the village residents? So accessibility to your village residents. Dennis?
Thank you for the question. One of the things I'm going to be able to do, I'm semi-retired. I'm still active in my commercial insurance business, but only on a part-time basis. So that's going to allow me to have the time to be able to put the time in necessary to do the job as the president. I've also looked forward to opening up the trustee meetings to Zoom, as we're doing today. It's a very simple process, non-expensive process, to be able to have all residents participate in our trustee meetings. I'll be open for phone calls, emails, and all the other suggestions from the residents to communicate with me so that they can be heard. It's important for our residents to be heard. Thank you.
Brian, how will you make yourself accessible to the residents?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you again. So being Road and Bridges Chairman and Public Safety is a very obviously important position. I deal with a lot of phone calls on a daily basis. I probably dealt with several hundred in the last probably 3 to 4 years, if not more, because roads, when the rain or anything happens or a road issue or public safety, they call me. And it's so funny because most residents already in town, pretty much have my cell number. So I already communicate with all the residents. Someone calls me or they email me, I'm on it that day. Again, I'm a doer. So I've already been doing that for the past 6 years as Road and Bridges Chair and Public Safety. I've met with our police. I meet with our residents. I go out there one-on-one. I take our engineer out there if we need it. I don't just say to our engineer, you go out and do that. Again, I'm a doer. I want to be part of that. I had a resident call me the other day again. I was out the next morning about an issue they had. they were ecstatic. I mean, they couldn't believe on the response on how fast someone actually came out from the village on that issue. So again, I'm a doer. I will get things done. I communicate with people all the time, and that's what I'm all about.
All right, thank you. All right, moving over to the second question. Are there any plans in the works to accommodate the increase in electric cars, such as maybe some public charging stations? Dennis?
I'm not aware of any, but I think since we're not a non-commercial village, I think it would be somewhat difficult to set up stands, but I think it's not a bad idea if we got one near the village for, I'd like to see that our village vehicles at some time become all electric. I think that's the wave of the future, and hope that we can participate that way.
Great, thank you. Brian?
That's a great question. I would actually concur with Dennis on that about possibly having one at our village hall. Again, we are really non-commercial, commercial in our village. We have looked into that. Actually, I believe years back, somewhere behind our public works department back there to have a station there, but that was it never came about anything. But that definitely has been talked about, and I'm all in favor of something like that for sure. Anything we can do to improve our way of life and the environment, absolutely, I'd be in favor of that. No problem.
All right, great. Question number 3. What financial challenges do you see for the village, and how do you address them? The levy has been lowered for 7 years now. How does that impact the major expenses, and is that a wise thing to do long term? Brian?
Yes, well, again, I've been proud of lowering that levy, cutting out spending that wasn't necessary or needed. Going forward with the levy, we are in the process of having to hire 2 police officers due to retirement. So not the levy, my goal is to keep the levy as low as possible, keep fiscal responsibility and spending at the bare minimum, and run it like a business, not like a government, because I'm a business owner myself. And I firmly believe that we can keep the levy down. I don't know how much lower, if anything, can go, but I'm definitely willing to sit down with all residents and go over all the levy issues. We have 4 months in cash reserves, so the village is sitting pretty good in regards to financially that way. But again, I'm all in favor of trying to do something like that. And I mean, that's been our target is having reserves for the village like that. And since we aren't a big commercial retail entity relying on sales tax, you have to be very good about the budget and stuff, which we have been great for the last 8 years on that.
All right, thank you. Dennis?
Always try to keep taxes low. But the key to keeping taxes low is to have a solid budget and planning for that budget so that you look forward into the future the best you can and anticipate what will be needed to pay your bills and to keep those bills within the confines of fiscal management. I think that as we look forward to this next year with, post-COVID and this harsh winter, we'll have to make sure that things are planned well in advance so that the budgets meet the requirements of the village. Fiscal responsibility is the name of the game. Thank you.
All right. Question number 4. We'll start with you, Dennis. Barrington Hills has experienced some very serious violence related to large house parties. What are your ideas to prevent this kind of issue again?
There's a new phenomenon, I think, going on throughout the country with these ability for people to rent their homes on a short-term basis. I don't think that our R1 zoning specifically answers the question. It's somewhat open from what I've seen and heard. So I think that we have to revisit our R1 zoning, that we take these new concepts of renting, short-term rentals, and how they affect our village, and make sure that we buttonhole any issues to avoid these in the future. It was a very sorrowful experience that happened, very unexpected, but I think that we have to look at this very closely and review our R1 zoning so that we can restrict that type of happening in the future. Thank you.
All right, Brian.
Great. Thank you very much for that question. It's a great question. We currently prohibit short-term rentals like that. So it is against our ordinance and of all multiple properties. So it's an unfortunate situation that happened at that time, and they were in violation. And we just don't allow that. I'm totally comfortable with our R1 zoning because we enforce it. And when something comes upon the village like that, if there is an issue, it's enforced. That was an illegal happening that happened or gathering there. And again, we don't allow for those in our village. So, you know, I'm definitely for that. I don't know how much more we can tweak it, but our zoning is in there. So that party was noticed. There was on notice there. They were on notice the night beforehand from our attorneys. They decided to have that party anyway. So now it's going to happen in all the legal stuff. But when it came up on a website.
All right, great, thank you. Next question, it's question 5. Does the village have an ethics policy or a code of conduct for your leadership? So we'll start with you, Brian.
Yes,
ethics
and
policy.
That's a great question. So our code of ethics policy, and so yes, we follow that greatly. Yes, it's a statute that we follow that, the state statute. So that is what's instilled in our code and ethics policy. And I'm very thankful to say as a proud member that we've never, as far as my knowledge, had ever had anything an issue with our village. So we just follow the manual of the statute on that issue.
Great, thank you. Dennis.
Again, I think that, you know, ethics is a very important part of politics, and that probably should be reviewed each year, especially with new trustees coming in and going out based on retirement issues. I know that there's classes that are available. I have those as an insurance broker. I have to take an ethics class each year, every 2 years, to renew my license. Those are they're online, available pretty freely. And I think that each trustee, either on an annual or semi-annual basis, should take one of these ethics courses to, you know, just a friendly reminder of, you know, what should be done, what should be said, how things are presented. I don't think that would be a bad idea. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, question 6, and we'll start with you, Dennis. Would you be willing to look into bringing Lake Michigan water into the Barrington Hills area?
On a personal basis, no. I like my well water. I think also the cost to rip up the village for piping, and the cost of the, you know, that cost alone will be very, very expensive. I think we're in a very good watershed. I think that's more important for us environmentally, is to protect our watershed so that our wells are kept properly maintained. But to bring Lake Michigan water in, I think would be way too expensive. And I don't think it would work for our village at this time.
All right, thank you. Brian, bringing Lake Michigan water to Barrington Hills.
I think that's great. Yes, I would actually agree with Dennis. I would not be in favor of that also. Our BACOG offers well testing for all residents annually, or, you know, free testing for residents, for all of our residents. I think the cost absolutely would be astronomical to try to bring in that kind of water. And where I live, I have great well water. I'm totally happy with that. I would definitely not be in favor of incurring those costs, because they would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars to try to do that of some sort. I would not be in favor of that.
All right, good. All right, really starting to think about the areas of concern for your village. So we'll start again with you, Brian. What are 1 or 2 main concerns you have about the village, and how would you address them?
Well, right now, one main concern is our security. Around our surrounding areas, there's been a lot of thefts, a lot of break-ins, and so forth. We've just recently installed the program, which is a virtual gated community, where we are installing some cameras around the perimeters of our village to help ensure our residents, again, that our security is their most importance of them, keeping them safe. That's the one major issue that I would like to concentrate more on, is to try to get that. Our police training, our police, you know, surveillance, our drainage issues. Again, I'm really working aggressively on drainage, because everyone knows in Barrington Hills, you know, we have a lot of lakes. You don't have a lot of sewers where the water, and when it rains a lot, those ponds get overfilled. So that was my #1 task last year that I started up with the Road and Bridges program. Every road that's getting done, every lane mile that's getting done, they are doing drainage along all ditch lines, culvert replacements. We are coordinating with the counties and state officials on all drainage issues. We set up an IGA with Cook County. So it's a little hard with the county and state officials, but those are my 2 areas. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Dennis?
Thank you. There's a number of issues. We talked about our water, protecting our water. So I totally agree on the safety issue. I think we also have to protect our borders with our intergovernmental agreement with the various villages. We've had issues over the years of parts of our village being taken away. We haven't done a very good job of that. We have to make sure that we keep those agreements with our villages. I also think we have to work. I've been working very closely as a park district president with the Forest Reserve. 30% of our land mass is with the Cook County Forest Reserve. So we have to be strategic partners, especially now with the advent of Horizon Farms being added to the park district, to work with them to make sure that what they do fits into our lifestyle. So we're working closely with them, and I think that's an important aspect since they are such a large landowner within our village.
All right, good. This question's a little bit long, but the village recently voted to purchase 20 cameras and at the entrances of the Barrington Hills, yet the Board of Trustees and committee meetings are not on video and the audio is of poor quality. If you're elected, how would you meet this challenge so that the residents can be communicated with? Dennis?
As I mentioned earlier, Zoom or WebNet, there's a number of, our kids today, our first graders are using Zoom as easily. I think that we could easily implement that within our trustee meetings. I personally attend a Zoom meeting every day with a number of people, and have a person in Singapore, a piece from Arizona, all over the world are able to participate. It's a very simple process to implement and to make it available to the public. There's no issue as far as it should be done. And it's a pretty simple process. I even thought about, getting some high school from the communications department at the high school to work with us. I think that would be a great idea. Have 220 participate with helping set up Zoom meetings for both, not only for the trustees, but for all committees, not just the trustee meetings. Thank you.
Good. Brian?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Certainly. The village recently purchased 20 cameras at the entrance of Barrington Hills, yet the Board of Trustees and committee meetings are not video recorded and the audio seems to be of very poor quality. How would you remedy this?
That's a great question. Thank you. So as for the cameras, we've discussed this for probably a year and a half to 2 years going back. I have had several public safety meetings. I believe I had one resident attend of all the meetings. I had to try to get out to all of our residents as to what we were attempting to do to protect our safety and security of our residents. South Barrington has had a huge success with the cameras and theft and all the burglaries. I would definitely be, again, I support that fully and I voted for that cameras. As for the Zoom issue, I definitely agree. I have no problem Zooming village board meetings. In this past COVID situation, I know we've had a lot of that going on. Some people have been at the board meetings, but I would definitely support, and I do agree our audio could probably tweak a little bit better. And that's been talked about. And again, I bring transparency to all meetings and all my road and bridges meeting. I encourage all residents to come. And again, I've had several public safety meetings on the camera issue with very little residents, any negativity. It's a great idea. So thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, question 9 centers around the employees of the village. What are your thoughts on nepotism? And how would you begin to enforce your decision if you're elected? So Brian, we'll start with you.
Nepotism, I don't agree with it. And I'm assuming that this question is aimed at my wife who works in the building department. So I'll go, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it was written that way, but I'll be more than happy to answer that. So she was hired 3 years ago by the current village president. And she's the third temporary part-time employee at the village. And she was hired again 3 years ago. I know involvement in that process, in regard to her hiring. And as for the tax saving dollars in the residents, she's doing a job that the previous person was doing full-time. She's saving our residents $80,000 a year. So for 3 years, if you add up $240,000, I think that's a great savings. And the whole village is doing a great job. All the departments, even my opponent Dennis stated last, all the employees in the village are doing a great job. So that would be my intention. If I'm elected president, I hope you elect me. Again, I'm a doer, not a good talker. So
great, thanks, Brian. Dennis, the issue of nepotism.
Well, our village has very few employees, and I know Brian's wife, and as long as she's doing a good job, I have no problems, with any employee. If they're doing their job, that works for me. It just happened that he's married to his wife, and she's an employee. I don't see a particular problem. If it proceeded beyond that, I think that we have to look at that as an issue. But currently, I don't think that's something that we have to worry about, as long as she's performing her job to her full abilities and, getting paid the appropriate amount of money. But, we could continue.
And if I could just rebut that real quick,
all right, 15.
Oh, just yes. Thank you for that, Dennis. So, I would just like to put it back in Dennis's position. If he were to win, I would hope he would not fire any of the current village staff, because I think they're doing a phenomenal job. And I would, I don't know if he wants to go on the record and saying that, but I think they're doing a great job. And again, all the full-time employees or, all the village staff, I think are doing a great job.
All right, thank you. All right, question number 10. Can you share with us some of the legislative positions currently that were taken by the former administration that you might disagree with or might need to see a need to repeal one of those ordinances? So Dennis?
I don't see anything currently. I just think that we need to reinforce our border protection issues, our issues with, but currently I'm not concerned with any specific agreements or changes in zoning at this point in time, or changing of ordinances. But if they do come up within the village or from the residents, I'd be more than willing to listen. As I said earlier, it's important for me to listen to the residents to see what their concerns are. And as we move forward, I think that will happen as we open up our meetings with Zoom and open up our committees to Zoom, so that people can actually see how decisions are made. Is an important aspect of transparency. Thank you.
Good, Brian.
Okay, again, could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Can you share some of the recent legislative positions that were taken by a former administration that you might disagree with, maybe an ordinance, a resolution, or some other law that you might repeal?
Former administration prior to my time, at this point, I can't recall anything off the top of my head, but I know we are working on the borders with other towns and other communities. It's critical and very important to keep our borders tight with our residents and to protect our borders. That's number one, absolutely. I just can't recall anything in the previous administration that was changed for zoning. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I really don't have. We're working on IGA. We had an IGA signing actually with Algonquin, I believe, about three or 4 months ago. So we are aggressively working on agreements with our borders.
All right, thank you. This came up once before, but so the question is, roads are always a major concern. What does the long-term plan look like to meet the needs? It's been alluded to a couple times, but some specifics. So, Dennis?
I'm going to have to let Brian answer this question. He's been the road guy, and I've actually been to a number of meetings, and I think they've done a good job by outsourcing the getting a good consultant. And I think that, from what I understand, he's done a good job. I think that, you know, with pavement, it's the type of pavement you put down, and I think it's important that that be investigated so that the pavement, that the asphalt that you buy today, there's many different qualities and types. Some last longer, some are not as good as others, and I think it's important that we continue to look at that so that keep costs down and keep our roads safe. And I think that's been done pretty well by the village, and I have no issues currently.
All right, Brian, roads are always a major concern. What does the long-term plan look like?
Appreciate it. I just want to correct one thing on my last statement about the IGA agreements. It was with South Barrington. We are working on with Algonquin. We have a draft. We actually signed an agreement with South Barrington. So I just want to clear it for the record. But
great.
Thank you. So back to the roads. Yes, I am extremely proud in my 6 years of our road program. Again, when I took over, we were paving about 2 miles of roadway, which we should have been paving about 3.2 miles of roadway. We aggressively, my first year, paved 4.2 miles, 4.1 miles the following year, and so forth and on for the last 6 years. So I'm very proud of that. Our road program is almost caught up. This year, we're going to pave about 3.2 miles of roadways, but including in all that, with lowering the levy in the past 6 years doing our road program, we are going to rejuvenate all the roads, which is the seal and protector, which I mentioned earlier, which is going to help preserve our roads for approximately 5 to 8 more years. It's a new resurfacing technique that's come out probably 3 or 4 years ago, and we are going to do that going back about 4 or 5 years for all of our road program to help improve our roadways. So a pothole issue really is, that's done on an as needed. If people are driving around, we have very little potholes because our roads are in great shape. So
great, thank you. It came up several times from community residents, so I think that was an important thing. This is always an interesting one, and Brian, you can go first. What are the nicest things you can say about your opponent?
Dennis, well, you know what? He's a great guy. I've met him on several charitable events. I've worked with Dennis on a few other of the veteran events. You know, I've donated food to his organization. I've donated my time to help him out. I know he's a chamber member. I'm a business guy. I really have nothing bad to say about Dennis Kelly as a person. I don't know him as a personal friend, but I know he's been in the community quite a while, as I have. And I would just say good luck to Dennis also in this election.
Great, thank you. Dennis?
Well, we're both married to horsewomen. That alone makes us comrades in arms. And I think that, you know, I've worked with Brian on a number of occasions. I know someone, you know, his family, you know, close friends, no. Associates, yes. And I think that no matter what happens, if I'm able to win the presidency, I know Brian will still be a trustee, and I know that I'll be able to work with him cordially and successfully. So thank you.
All right. Well, I have just 2 questions left, which is kind of unusual for our forums. And it seems as though another question's come up, and you've alluded to it. What are your thoughts on full transparency that include access to the stormwater book? And apparently that's something that you have to live in Barrington Hills to understand.
I'm not quite understanding the question with regards to the what book?
A resident wrote, what are your thoughts on full transparency to include access to the stormwater book, for example?
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with the stormwater book, so I can't give you a specific answer. But transparency is important. I mean, if anything, they can always FOIA, you know, if they really want to get deep into decision makings within the village. But I'm open to open up the books if necessary to answer questions for a resident, unless it's issues that are, you know, with regard to personnel, you can't ask, and other issues that are covered by either HIPAA or other protectionary privacy laws. But other than that, if we have to open up the the books on a particular issue so that a resident can find out if our decisions were sound, I have no problem with that. Thank you.
Good. Brian?
Yes, great. I'm definitely open to all transparency. And for records, they're all open in our office. So if someone were to call the clerk, email the clerk, you can pretty much obtain any record you wish through our clerk at the village. So as in getting records, the particular watershed, I believe it's all available, all through the clerk, all the records. And again, I can only stress transparency. I'm 100% for transparency also.
All right, good. An interesting question, civic engagement. How would you encourage the residents of the village to have a voice in their local government? You're representing them, so encouraging residents to have a voice in local government. So Brian, we'll start with you.
Great question, great question. Committees and volunteers, that's what I'm all about also. And I tell any residents, any friends that I socialize with, get involved with the village. That's the best thing you can do, is just be a part of this village, be a part of your community that you love so much and you're part of. I encourage all residents to please call me, email me. I mean, I will respond. Join a committee. There's a lot of different committees at our village hall. Our committee people who are running for office, we're all residents. Dave Riff, Tom Strauss, and Laura Exum, we're all residents that we talk to who want to give back to our community. That's what it's all about. And I can only stress that over and over and over. I'm a people's person. I give back to the community. I'm a doer. I serve. That's my motto. So, they're all involved. They want to all get involved. All the 3 other trustees who are running. I think it's a great way to get involved in your community and be part of it and see what's going on in your town.
Great. Dennis, how would you encourage the residents of the village to have a voice in their local government?
Government works best when residents are involved. I think one of the areas I know in the past years that the village newsletter was actually run by residents. And I'd like to see that start up again to get feedback from the residents so that it'd be passed through our communication process with the village newsletter would be one area that I think would work. Again, ask for volunteers. I don't disagree with Brian to make sure that people are aware that they can be part of the committees. A lot of times things don't get passed on or communicated properly enough. At the Barrington Hills Park District, we have an advisory committee that brings in various aspects of different participants within the park district that go out to the community. And before decisions are made, every decision that we make at the park district goes through the advisory. That's a rental agreement, any change of capital improvements, everything else. And we get their opinions that we bring back to the trustee meetings and make sure that they participate. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Well, my list of questions exhausted. I want to check with Kathy to see if any questions have rolled in, or Sam, have any questions come in?
We have not had any questions added since we began. I will make a request of the folks who are on this call because the stormwater books seem to raise some confusion. So, and because we are talking to, I suppose we have a moment to clarify with our candidates here, and because we're talking to the Barrington Hills trustees, candidates next, same question may come up. If anyone who is on the call right now can clarify stormwater book, is that watershed or is it something else? And you can do that in the chat. It will be a message that will come directly to me. So I will have that information going forward. I believe Kathy will share with everyone the League of Women Voters website.
And then Sam, we still need to do a closing statement, but yeah. I just wanted to defer to make sure that anyone had any last minute questions. Kathy, anything?
No questions on our end. We did not take questions from the audience during the session, so nothing more to add.
All right, good. Then we will go to
interrupt just one moment. We did have a question come in. However, it was I'm assuming this is someone who was who joined the meeting a few minutes in. So the candidates began the forum today talking about why they wanted to be president. the recording will be available, hopefully a little later today, definitely by tomorrow, on the library's YouTube channel, and I will be sharing it with the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area as well. So you can find that information and that answer there.
Great, thank you, Sam. We'll go ahead then and go to our closing statements. And so it's a 1-minute closing statement, and we'll start with you, Dennis.
Well, I really appreciate the time and effort that you have put into giving this forum and the questions brought by the residents. I think that I have the leadership qualities and the experience to bring maybe a new set of eyes to the current administration's past 8 years and overlook and take a look, see what's been done, what maybe could be changed, what can be improved. And I think I have the skills to be able to do that and make a full, be a full-time president for the village so that we can move forward, especially after this very difficult year of COVID. Things are going to change, how people look and how things work. And we're going to have to make sure that we look at these things to make the village as a beautiful place to live and a wonderful set of people to be partners with. So I really look forward to your vote to become the new president of the Village of Barrington Hills. Thank you.
Great. And Brian, closing statement.
Thank you again for everybody for hosting this, and thank you for all the viewers for listening. Hopefully you guys got some great knowledge and some great information from both of us. So in closing, I just want to, on a few notes, one of the few differences is, I'm definitely for lowering taxes, lowering the levy. We are endorsed. I am endorsed by current village president Mark McLaughlin and trustee Colin Konasek and trustee Bittner and trustee Kroll. Again, I've been a trustee for 6 years. I love this community. This is my passion. My motto is I serve. I want to continue on the path that the village has gone down for that they started 8 years ago. It's a great path, and I want to be part of that. And as president, I can do that. I'm confident I can do that. I have the experience to do that. I'm a people's person. I deal with the public every day. I love communication. I'm all for transparency for all of our residents. I'm proud that our levy has been lowered. I'm proud that we've cut the budget down so much to save our taxpayers' residents all that money that's back in their pocket. I'm proud of the village of just the way it operates, and I'm proud of our police department. And
all right,
it's been a great leader. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, good. Well, Kathy, that completes both opening all our questions and our closing statements. So would you like to go ahead and wrap things up?
Right. Thanks, Kate. As we bring the forum to a close, I just wanted to check, make sure I was off mute. Sorry. I want to thank the candidates for their participation. We'd like to encourage all of our candidates to recycle their campaign signs, and members of the public can do so as well. If you'll visit the League of Women Voters Palatine Area website at lwvpalatinearea.org, you'll get the details there. And if you're not registered to vote, you can find voter registration information on our website as well. And on behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Barrington Area Library, thank you for coming. And don't forget, early voting starts on March 22nd. There's plenty of election information also out on the voters website, League of Women Voters website. Please participate in our democracy by casting your ballot. Your vote is your voice.
Thank you again. And just real quick, back to recycling signs. Barrington Hills does offer that recycling back at the barn. So if you want to pick up the signs afterwards, I know there's a pile there and someone comes and they recycle all those signs. I just want to add in there, if the residents aren't aware of that, they can definitely do that. So
good, thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Sam, any last minute wrap up?
No, I do have some information on the stormwater sewer book, but I think we will handle that via email at this point. So thank you all very much for your time. Thank you for joining us. I did want to add, if any of you are interested in attending the Barrington Hills trustee discussion, the link that you use to get to this meeting will also bring you to that one. So thank you, and maybe we'll see some of you starting at 10:30 today. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you again.